I was a bit surprised today because we have a pretty big patch for patch 14.20. They said last time that there wouldn't be too many other changes in this set, but we got a bit of a big surprise because I think a lot of the changes actually do make a bunch of sense. So let's get into them. I haven't read all of them. I only skimmed through a couple, but for the buffs, we have a bunch of trait buffs. We have Bastion, Eldritch, Mage, Portal, Shapeshifter, and Sugarcraft. I'm most excited for Sugarcraft because it's just fun to stack up every now and then. We have buffs to Syndra, finally. I mean, she's been getting buffed for the past couple of patches. I think this is the time where she'll actually be good again because last patch, I played her a couple of times. Decent, okay, but definitely missing something. I think now with this buff here, depending on how big it is, she's either going to be normal or overpowered. Jace hasn't really seen too much love this set. You just use him as a trait bot. Namzi, kind of the same thing. Zoe, I'm excited to see Zoe again. Elise definitely needs it. Ari took a backseat after her big nerfs. Kog'Maw, we've been missing the Kog'Maw comp ever since they changed Fairy to a 3 trait instead of a 2 trait. Kog'Maw has not seen as much play. Hui, never really been used as a primary carry. Nico, I think Nico is fine. I'm curious to see what they actually changed about her. And then we have Jinx buffs, Camille buffs. Camille always felt weird as a legendary. She does a lot of damage, but she also doesn't do too much damage, but she's also in the front line, so she dies a little often. So I definitely think Camille does need a small buff. Bramble and Dragonclaw buffs. There's a poll recently on whether people like Warmogs plus Stoneplay or Bramble plus Dragonclaw. And I think it always depends on the patch. It's not necessarily that one combo is always better than the other. But then we also have 5 augment changes and then nerfing Arcana, Preserver, Fairy. Pretty much these 3 were the big comps of the last patch. So we're seeing all 3 of these traits getting nerfed. Some of the comp shared traits as well. And then we have Twitch, Hecarim, Varus, all getting nerfs. Blue buff, red buff, Crown Guard, and then 27 augments. Holy cow. And then they're also adjusting Witchcraft. So let's get into the meat of the patch first. We'll get into the little intro stuff a bit later, but onto the system changes. We have the Star Up ceremony. The unit Star Up and Combine ceremony is now instant. This will save a lot of time, and on all those epic rolldowns where you complete the unit and then it doesn't combine on time, that should not happen anymore. This is a great quality of life change. Strongest unit logic: when looking for the strongest champion, if 2 champs are the same character and have the same number of items, the highest star copy will always be registered as the strongest copy. I already thought this was in there, but I guess not. Golems, all base golem HP is being buffed up by 50, and then their armor and MR being up by 5 as well. This is essentially there to compensate for some of the nerfs they're doing later on. Portals, Let 'em Cook has been removed, and then they're changing it to Make 'em Cook. Start with a spatula and a frying pan. Reforgers won't drop ever. So people were not cooking with Let 'em Cook, so now they're forcing us to cook. I think that's fine, honestly. Large changes like the applause for instant Star Up ceremony, give it up. All right, let's take a look at what they are actually changing. Arcana, high Arcana Hecarim AD % is going to be reduced at 4 and 5 Arcana. Tahm Kench HP reduced at 4 and 5 Arcana, and then Xerath reduced as well. I gotta question the Xerath nerfs because I completely understand Tahm Kench, completely understand Hecarim, but Xerath, people were not using Xerath as their high Arcana unit. I feel like they just need to make the stacking aspect a bit stronger. I feel like if it's stage 6 or mid stage 6, you should almost always be using Xerath if it's balanced, because I feel like that's his whole identity, right? Whereas Tahm Kench, Hecarim, if you need it, you choose whichever one you want. But they obviously were a bit strong in the last patch because the Varus comp used it incredibly well. Bastion, base armor and MR is going to be buffed up at 4, 6, and 8 Bastion. The 8 Bastion is actually pretty big. Remember, they get double at the start of the fight too, so that's a whole lot there. Eldritch AP per star level, 12 to 10% nerf, but then the scaling multiplier is going to be buffed up pretty much across the board for Eldritch 3, 5, and 7. I've been saying this for the previous 2 patches already. They buff Eldritch a bunch, and I keep saying now is the time, but I really sincerely believe now is the time because it was just on the cusp this patch. So I feel like it should be good to go now. By the way, this patch comes out on Wednesday, October 9th, wherever you are. A lot of people ask me in the comments, when does the patch come out? Like 90% of the time, it's going to be on the Wednesday. But we have Fairy bonus HP. This one's going to be dropped down a bit. Crown damage amp is going to actually be buffed up at 7 and 9 Fairy. Queen's Guard armor, heal, and shielding amount drop by 5%. Healing from the Queen, 12% to 5%. That's probably the biggest change there. And then Queen's Guard armor HP 250 to 400. So they're changing it a little bit, but overall this is for sure a nerf. Fairy 9 radiant armor, healing, and shielding going to be nerfed a bit. Same with the healing from the queen, but they're going to be giving it a 500 HP buff there. Let's read it. This is like a pretty big change. Rakan and Kalista combos have been especially powerful this patch and last patch, with the power coming from a less visible space. The Queensguard armor healing. Rakan 2 with Queensguard armor could become unkillable, even with heal cut. Yeah, that's true. Healing up to 7k in a fight. Wow, okay, I did not know it was that much. I knew he healed a lot, but I never bothered to check the actual numbers. I just know he doesn't die. But they're still giving the crown a bit more health so you could stabilize early, and her win rate is less tied to her star level than to Rakan, so yeah, Rakan was more important. Regardless, we will be delivering a slight nerf to Multi-Striker 3 later on. Okay, fair enough. AP Mage's multiplier is going to be buffed up across the board. Looks like Veigar's back on the menu. Portal base standard attack speed is going to be buffed up at 6 and 8 portal. Poro snack heal, this one's going to see the same thing. Interesting that they're buffing portal. I feel like it wasn't like too oppressive last patch, but I didn't know that it needed buffs. Maybe because they're buffing other stuff that needs it to keep up. Preserver HP regen. This one's going to be dropped at 3, 4, and 5 Preserver. Makes complete sense. Everyone was playing Preservers. Like, you could not get a 2-star Rakan for the life of you. Preserver mana regen. This one's also going to be dropped up in the same breakpoints. And then Shapeshifter bonus HP buffed up at 4, 6, and 8 Shapeshifter. Sugar Crab base AD and AP is going to be buffed up as well. And then Sugar Crab Sugar multiplier 2 to 3. Witchcraft HP reduction 150 to 120. So that's a nerf. But then the poison at 4 Witchcraft is going to be buffed up. So they want 4 Witchcraft to be a bit more playable, 2 Witchcraft a little weaker, which makes sense because a lot of the Fiora comps, you just play 2 Witchcraft and she was a complete monster. So that should be a bit weaker. But then going deep into Witchcraft, you really only got rewarded at 8 Witchcraft. So hopefully this change should help their mid game a little bit and get them a little bit stronger. So units tier 1, we have Elise Spell Heal. This one's going to be buffed up everywhere. Jace Spell AD is going to be buffed up everywhere also. And then Namzi 46 to 48 AD. Dragon Upgrade Spell AD percent 555 to 600. Maybe Namzi reroll is back. I think it actually is. I don't think it really needed that much, but you obviously have to play it situationally. Twitch Spell Fall Off percentage 10% to 20%. Zoe spell damage is going to be buffed up everywhere. Zoe missiles now retarget to the nearest living enemy if the target dies while it's in flight. Wow, that's a pretty big change. And yeah, maybe Zoe and Namzi reroll are back on the menu. Maybe one cost reroll as a whole is back on the menu as well. So units tier 2, Ari spell orb damage. This one's going to be buffed up a little bit. Kog'Maw AD is going to be nerfed, but his mana is going to be buffed. And his spell AD percent is going to be buffed up too. Overall, this is definitely going to be a buff for Kog'Maw. Let's see what they have to write on it because I am curious because Kog'Maw has seen a fall in play, but it's mainly just due to Fairy being changed from 2 to 3 because you complement Kog'Maw with Tristana all the time. So Kog'Maw's great success at hitting top 4, pretty bad for top 1 and 2. His win rate depends on how strong his attack speed scaling friends have been, with his go-to build prioritizing casting more to support his allies. We're making some changes to him below that should result in a net buff while also allowing him to focus more on AD focused build. So he sets his allies abuzz. All right, makes sense. Syndra spell damage. This one's going to be buffed up across the board. AoE damage buffed up across the board as well. And yeah, she's had it rough since her reign earlier in the set. We're giving her a bit of damage in hopes of seeing her appear in a match history near you sometime soon. Yeah, she definitely will be. Again, she was on the cusp before. Now she is probably going to be back. Units tier 3, Hecarim 60 AD to 55. Hecarim cleave damage is going to be buffed, so they're changing the way he kind of spikes. So if you itemize him, he's going to be a lot better than if you don't itemize him. Hui base spell damage is going to be buffed up. Nico mana buff. Wow, that's pretty powerful because Nico stuns. They don't really talk about Nico here. I wish they had a write-up for Nico because I already know why they did the other changes. Jinx AD is going to be buffed up by 2. And then now onto units tier 4. Varus 55 to 52 AD. Wasn't this a champion I said last patch where they changed him and then I was like, why don't they go to a uneven number or like unrounded number? Maybe it was someone else, but yeah, Varus was a bit too powerful. But you have to keep in mind, AD on Varus is very delicate because there's a fine line between executing everyone with your pyro buff and not executing them and needing an extra cast. So this is actually a big change, even though it doesn't seem like that much. Risky tip, Varus can hit the enemy backline if positioned in the 3rd row and they are clumped. Fun fact, this tip was available on bunnymuffins.lol/meta, I believe in like the 1st week of the set, maybe the 2nd week of the set. So that's always a great resource to keep up on TFT comps comps, units tier 5, Camille hookshot and ability AD percentage is going to be bumped up at 1 and 2 star. Now onto augments. All right, so here's one of the big changes. We're nerfing many of our crests and crowns that have been on the stronger side of things for a while now. These nerfs should make it so that you only choose a crest and crown when you have a good position to do so. So we actually have to use our brains now. Gone are the days where you go to teamfight.lol, click on augments, look up portal crest, and you see that it's a 3.99. And even if you don't have any portal units, you just hard force it anyways. They're going to be changing that now, which makes complete sense because that's not the way you should play TFT from a theoretical standpoint. So you have to have the core items for their go-to carry or are already fielding a few of the traits units instead of just being an insta-click to the strong boards they create immediately. So that's probably one of the biggest playstyle changes of the patch, but honestly, I'm all for it because it was pretty stupid when you kind of just hard force a trait even if you had no units for it. So they're changing precise planning unit threshold 3 to 4. Wait, isn't that a huge buff? Isn't precise planning already so good? Precise planning has quietly become gain 3 extra gold in our higher elo community. We're decreasing the gold reward but making it easier to hit. Oh, my bad. I didn't see the next line where they changed the gold gain from 3 to 2. So yeah, precise planning, if we look over here, it is at a 4.2 in Master Plus. What do we think it's going to be when we change it to Platinum? It's going to be a 4.19. Wait, is it just good at every rating? Okay, at Gold it gets worse for some reason. Maybe Emerald? That's weird. It's kind of like a graph that looks like this or something, where it's like not so good here, great here, and then good here still. But after that, risky moves is going to be reduced by 3 gold. Yeah, all the econ augments are really good because everyone was just fast aiding, and fast aiding is so expensive. Avenge the Fallen stats gained 30 to 28. Very good stat check of an augment. So nerfing that completely fine. Blaster Crest no longer grants a Tristana. Chrono no longer Zillion. So pretty much all the crests that they're going to name, you don't get the champion anymore. That's going to be Fairy, Frost, Honeymancer, Multi-Striker, Portal Crest. And I think it's completely fair. It was way too broken before. Prize Fighter turns for items 4 to 5. Oh, that's a pretty big change. Pyro Crest no longer grants an Akali. School Mascot Eldritch AP gained 30% to 10%. I think that's in anticipation of the Eldritch buffs. Support Golem 1 has been removed. Wow. Unleash the Beast attack speed granted is going to be 45 to 35. Winter is coming. Frost HP ratio 130 to 100. Witchcraft Crest, same thing. Worth the wait 1. Initial copies 1 to 3. That's a pretty big buff. Now you could actually use the unit, which is pretty nice. And you don't even have to wait anymore, so maybe it's just worth it all the time. Blaster Crown item is going to be Spear of Shojin to Tear of the Goddess. Blossoming Lotus crit gain per interval 12 to 15%. Chrono Crown Archangel Staff is being changed to Needlessly Large Rod. Frost Crown Champion is going to be changed from Swain to Zillion. Frost Crown item Protector's Vow to Chain Vest. And then Hard Commit unit gained after each carousel is going to be changed to at the start of each stage. And then Honeymancy Crest, Gargoyle Stoneplate being changed to a Chain Vest. Living Forge turns per artifact 8 to 9. That's a pretty fair change. Living Forge was way too good because they just buffed it too much before, so nerfing it makes complete sense. They might even have to nerf it a little more than this, in my opinion. We'll check back in the data. I'll be doing data checks in like the next couple days. I post them on my YouTube community post if anyone wants to take a look at that. Multi-Striker Crown items, Quicksilver is being changed to Sparring Gloves. Portal Crown item, Spear of Shojin to Tear of the Goddess. Pyro Crown item, Infinity Edge to BF Sword. Support Golem 2, number of support items being changed from 2 to 1. Wow, that is remarkably worse. I know this one was OP. If we type in Support Golem here, like the 2 is 4.06 and the Support Golem 1 is 4.21. But I know they buffed the Golem, but losing a whole support item is humongous considering a lot of the support items don't even synergize together, and it probably still does well in those scenarios. That's how good it was, but this is like a pretty big nerf. I don't know if this is going to be takeable anymore. Tiniest Titan Plus gold gained 8 to 15. Upward mobility HP gained 3 to 2. Yeah, this was such a good augment. I love this one so much. I'm pretty sure I did really well whenever I took it. What the Forge HP per artifact 110 to 60, and then Worth the Wait 2. Total copies gained throughout the game is being changed from 8 to infinity. So this is going to be worth just like 2 gold per turn or something after you complete it. That's very nice. Items, blue buff, damage amp on kill 8% to 5%. Bramble Vest 55 to 65. Armor, Crown Guard AP after shield break 35 to 25. I wonder why they're nerfing Crown Guard. Do they talk about it here? They do not. They talk about all the other items except for Crown Guard. I know it's a good item, but I feel like it's an item that people don't build too much. I really only see people in like higher ratings building this a bunch. But let's check out Crown Guard right now. It is at a 3.99. Average placement for this data set is 4.15. I love the statistic here, by the way, because whenever you look at items, The reason why this isn't like a 4.5, for example, is because when you win a game, you have a ton of items. So it artificially boosts the average placement of a specific item. So that's why I love the average placement statistic over here. No other site has this. And then now if we sort by like the main items, maybe Crown Guard is near the top mixed with like a decently high play rate. Yeah, it's at a 3.99 over here, but it's like 1.7. It's pretty high compared to all these other items that are doing better than it. Obviously, there are some biases in the data, so just keep that in mind whenever you are looking at this stuff. Dragonclaw MR is being increased by 10, red buff, damage amp 6 to 3. Blue buff and red buff still should be very good items. Support item, unstable treasure chest items are now thrown to the highest percent health allies instead of the closest to the holder. That's a pretty good quality of life change. And then now onto charms. So new combat mastery is going to be stage 3 and 4. It's going to cost 2 gold, and next combat gain 1 XP for each enemy your team kills. Golden armor stage 4 plus 1 gold. Your units gain 50 HP for every 10 gold you have for 1 round. Scope expansion, next combat your units in the back 2 rows gain 2 range. That one's going to be really fun. I could see like maybe some melee unit you put in the back, maybe like a Olaf or something might be pretty fun to do. Barrier gold cost going to be changed from 6 to 5. I think this is the one where you gain like 1,000 shield at the start of the fight or something like that. Ascendant judgment gold cost 2 to 0. The chariot 3 to 2, and the moon 2 to 4. Okay, now onto the small changes. Small like the honey a bee can produce in its lifetime, 1/12 of a teaspoon. Really? Wow, you need a lot of bees to make some stuff. That's crazy. I'm gonna fact check that. How much honey does a bee produce? So yeah, it is 1/12 of a teaspoon. So if we believe ChatGPT, then yeah, that is going to be true. I did not really think of it in that way though. I guess bees are so small, like how much can they actually produce, right? The decline of bee population poses a serious threat to global agriculture and ecosystems. Honeymancy, damage amp per bee, 8 to 9%. Okay, yeah, I guess you gotta buff them then. Hunter AD 4070 to 4575, multi-striker 3 proc chance 30% to 25%, so that's a direct nerf to pretty much just Callista. All the other multi-strikers, you just stack more multi-striker to get to like 7, and they should be performing just fine there. Pyro 2 base AS 10 to 5%, Scholar 4 AP 15 to 20, Vanguard 4 shield amount 30 to 35, and then Vanguard 6 damage reduction while shielded 15 to 20%. That's actually pretty sizable buff, and then Warrior 6 damage reduction 20% to 15%. Yeah, 6 Warrior was very good. Hard to get there, but once you do, it's very, very powerful. But let's move on into the tier 1s. Ash buffs, Blitzcrank nerf, Lilia buff, Poppy buff, Seraphine buff. Warwick gonna get a nerf at 3-star, and then Warwick spell heal is gonna be buffed at 1-star. So they're going to make a bunch of 1-cost rerolls more viable, but the OP ones, such as Warwick, is going to be nerfed a bit, but they compensate him by having his 1-star a little bit stronger, just in case you're playing Warwick in like a Frost comp, or like maybe you want to play Vanguards. Units tier 2, Akali buffed, Galio spell flat damage reduced is going to be increased pretty much everywhere, and then Nyla shield and attack speed duration 3 to 4 seconds. Rumble spell damage reduction is going to be increased to 35%. Units tier 3, Mordekaiser is getting less bonky and more tanky. His spell shield is going to be increased by 50. Spell shield duration increase a second, but his damage amp per cast can be reduced. I like him more as a tank. I'm going to be real here. I don't like him as a damage dealer. When I play a Vanguard, I want a tank. When I play Eldritch, I need a tank. I got other people dealing damage, so I like this change for Mordekaiser. Fits his identity a bit more. Shen spell damage reduction duration 3 to 4 seconds. Veigar spell damage is going to be increased at 1 and 2-star, but decreased at 3. But we have to remember, there's a mage buff, so Veigar's probably going to be just fine. Vex spell shield going to be improved at 1 and 2-star. Wukong spell shield going to be improved at 2 and 3-star. Is reroll just going to be the meta again? Units tier 4, you heard of the ancient -5 AD meme, but have you heard whispers of the -3 AD one? Fiora 75 to 72. Gwen spell base damage going to be dropped down just a tad at 1 and 2-star. Nasus spell HP steal is going to be increased from 300 to 350 and 480 to 500. So that's just a solid Nasus buff there. I thought they were going to nerf him. Maybe I misread something at the top. But moving on into the legendaries in tier 5, we have Briar. Ravenous bonus per missing HP is going to be changed from 0.8 to 0.7. Milio spell damage increase at 2-star. Milio chance for gifts 1 to 3%. Nora and Yumi base heal is going to be decrease at 1-star, increase at 2-star. Makes complete sense. A lot of people were playing random Nora to just get the Yumi buff, but now they're less incentivized to do that. But the people who are going for Nora and Yumi, get them 2-star. They're going to be happy for sure. AP granted, buffed at 2-star. AD granted, nerfed at 1-star. And then Smolder, armor, and MR 50 to 65. Yeah, Smolder needs it. Smolder just runs in like an idiot and dies. Like, I hate Smolder so much. I mean, I'm still going to play him when I need him, but I wish he just didn't run into the enemy team and need this compensation buff to like make up for that horrible AI. But now let's move on into the bug fixes. We have tooltip fixes for What the Forge and Arcana emblem to specify that they work differently with any tactician's items, not just the crown. Honeymancers no longer repeatedly fire if their target is shielded. Fix various issues with the Overachievers portal. Shen Champion Augment Pillar of Flame no longer considers bench units when targeting. Mage fix a bug where mages could have less starting mana than intended. Mager fix some mana interactions with 10 mage. And then Tournament of Souls Arena center texture no longer disappears in odd situations. Fix an issue with Study Hard appearing in HyperRoll. Potholes to Redemption. We have fixed an issue where Road to Redemption force redeem to heal only a flat amount instead of the amount described in the trait. Oh, my friend actually was playing a HyperRoll game and he was complaining to me, is like, how is this other guy 1 level higher than me? Is that the Study Hard bug? That must have been what was causing it. The road not traveled. This is for Donna Heroes. I don't care. Donna Heroes don't care. And then fix 1-cost champion. Donna Heroes don't care. All right. Let's look at some of the changes at the top, then we'll do a quick little summary. So rotating shop is going to be changed a bit to certain chibis. TFT is also getting bots. What? I did not know that. Bots will occasionally show up in small number of games in normal and ranked queues. Wait, ranked queues? Decreasing in likelihood as you rank up. Bots will not appear in a ranked game with a player ranked platinum or above. Okay, that's odd, but I guess that's fine. It gets queue times faster a bit. Maybe people won't even notice. But just as a summary, I'm most excited for Syndra comps to come back. Believe it or not, I'm one of those people. Sugarcraft, it got such a small buff. I think it was averaging a 4.5 in the last patch, so maybe it's going to be good now at 6 Sugarcraft. I'm loving the crest and crown changes. I think those things should have been nerfed a long time ago. The thing is, I'm so used to playing the old way where I just hard force the comp from the beginning that I have to like unlearn that habit that I have. But it looks like a lot of the 4-cost comps, not too many of them were nerfed too hard. Like obviously Arcana was nerfed, so Varus is nerfed. Preserver was nerfed, so like half the comps are nerfed. But the thing is, so many people are going for them that now that you can get Recon 2 instead of Recon 1 every game, they might perform just as well as they did last patch with fewer people going for them. I gotta say, I'm a little scared of all the reroll that's coming out. A lot of the 1-cost rerolls got buffed, a lot of the 3-cost reroll got buffed, some 2-cost as well. Ahri, I actually think, is a very strong unit. She's got a great AoE effect. You put a red buff or Morello on her, she's gonna be great with that. But I'm excited to see maybe Hui is back in action as a reroll, because I think Hui is such a cool unit. Probably one of my favorite units of this set, mainly because I like the Frost comp a lot and I like playing around Hui, but it kind of feels bad when you do. So I'm hoping that changes with this next patch. But this patch is going to come out tomorrow. I'm going to be coming out with a meta snapshot on bunnymuffins.lol/meta. So I hope to see you all there, and let me know what you think about the patch in the comments below.